Well, joining us now is the Minister for Employment, Workforce Development and Official Languages, also Alberta MP Randy Boissonnault. Minister, thank you for being with us.
My pleasure.
So I want to begin with Pierre Poilievre because he is making this challenge to your government to essentially hold a carbon tax election, saying what you need to do is suspend the carbon tax on all home heating, let Canadians decide whether or not they want this tax, and then move forward. What do you say to that?
Well, look, I think it's pretty hypocritical of the leader of the official opposition to start changing his own game plan midstream when he ran on a price on pollution in the last election. And if we go to that particular issue in your question, Michael, we've now fought 3 elections on price on pollution, and even the Supreme Court has said that not only do we have the right to do it, it's now part of the law of the land, and the pricing mechanism works. We're, look, among G7 countries leading in emissions reduction, so we're going to fight another election in 2025, and if this is one of the issues that Pierre Poilievre wants to campaign on, bring it on.
Bring it on in 2025, but not before that, because I think at this point, part of the issue here is the fact that so many Canadians are facing affordability issues, and a lot of them perhaps are much more focused on the carbon tax now than they were before.
Well, I think we've been very clear with Canadians that we know that times are challenging. We are not exempt from global inflation, even though we're down closer to 3 than we have been in over a year. And I'm looking forward to interest rates coming down over time as well. But you know, Michael, that in our pricing pollution system, 8 out of 10 Canadians actually get more money back than they put in the system. That was the way that we designed the system at the beginning, because we knew that to set a pricing mechanism into a carbon reduction program was going to have to make sure that it didn't put Canadians out of pocket. So the wealthiest Canadians pay a little bit more, but 8 out of 10 Canadians actually get more money back. And what did we do? Like, if we actually break down what we did here, we accelerated the replacement of home heating oil with thermal pumps, what we call heat pumps, in areas of the country where we have energy poverty. So that means not the ability to switch to another source. We also have people who use home heating oil that tend to be amongst the lower income Canadians. And so if you're in one of these areas of the country and you're looking at a $20,000 bill to get off of home heating oil to heat pumps, it's simply out of reach. It's not possible. So with our rebates, we are now going to make sure that those heat pumps are essentially free, no cost to these Canadians. And why does it matter? So heating oil is 4 times more expensive than natural gas today, and it's also 2 times more emitting in terms of its carbon footprint. And so what we've done with this particular program is we've said a couple of things. We've said, look, we're going to make sure that we're there to help you get your heat pump, and once you get off that heat pump, your greenhouse gas emissions will be lower and your bill will be lower, so you're going to have more money in your pockets. And if we talk about the Alberta and Saskatchewan context, if those premiers want to provide the same opportunities that we're seeing with provincial premiers in Atlantic Canada, they're welcome to join with us and provide subsidy so that we can actually make sure that all Canadians who are on heating oil can switch to heat pumps and get off an expensive fuel that's also harmful to the environment.
Okay, but you know, the decision to suspend the carbon tax on home heating oil, that benefits mainly Atlantic Canadians. But affordability challenges are what Canadians are facing coast to coast to coast. So why not help everyone, not through rebates, but by relieving them of these carbon taxes?
So if we take a look at Alberta right now, natural gas was scoped into the plan that Alberta's on with the federal backstop, Michael. So like, I heat with natural gas. Most of the people in Edmonton do the same unless they have a heat pump. All of those people are scoped into the program we have. They're already getting more back from our price on pollution program, the Climate Action Incentive Rebate, than they're paying to the natural gas company. So nothing's changed in Alberta.
But to hear it from the Conservative leader, though, that's the very fact that you are having to intervene with home heating oil is an admission that the rebates do not cover the costs that people pay in carbon taxes.
Well, it's not because of the carbon pricing that heating oil is inaffordable or out of reach for people. It's just a more expensive fuel because of the price that the companies have put on it, but it also is a more polluting fuel. And so we want to solve for both of those items, Michael. And I guess what I would say is the reason that we want to make sure that home heating oil gets solved for is because it's so much more expensive, because it's so much more polluting. And again, if the premiers want to make sure that their people can have access to the heat pumps, they can go into that space and join us. And we're already in discussions with BC, and it's Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland and Labrador that have already indicated that they will sign up.
There is, of course, this charge that what's happening here is essentially a complex argument to justify a policy that's really meant to shore up bad numbers for the Liberals in Atlantic Canada. What do you say to that?
Well, the other thing we didn't talk about is the fact that the rural top-up is going to be doubled. And if you take a look at who lives in rural Canada, right now there's way more Conservatives than there are Liberals. So if this was a Liberal-first policy, we would not have a rural top-up and we wouldn't have doubled it. And in the case of people, some households will have, you know, hundreds of dollars and even up to $1,000 more a year because of the top-up. So look, everybody's going to try to make a big decision like we make for the country like this, a political one, when in fact we're governing for the whole country. And if we want to talk about the Alberta context, like, we built a pipeline, Michael, and there was controversy across the country when we got off of coal. When the federal government worked with Alberta to transition from coal, as it's doing right now with Saskatchewan, did that do anything for Ontario residents or Quebec residents? No, because those provinces were already on hydro. And so there are different regional approaches to getting us to the point where we need to be a net zero. And I'll be really clear, because Minister O'Regan, when he was Natural Resource Minister, Minister Wilkinson now that he's Natural Resource Minister, and in my portfolio, it's really clear that we don't get to net zero as a country without the workers in Alberta and Saskatchewan, with the industry of those provinces and the governments. And that's why there's a working table in Alberta to work through these things. And so, is there regional balance across the country? Absolutely. Do we govern for the whole country? Yes, we do.
So how will your government respond then to Premier Scott Moe? Because as you know, he's threatening not to collect the carbon tax if a carve-out is not made for natural gas. Essentially, he says what he wants to do is give the people in Saskatchewan, in his province, the same tax relief that you're offering to Atlantic Canadians.
Well, the people who use home heating oil in Saskatchewan will get the same benefit that folks in Atlantic Canada get, as same will folks in Alberta. And look, the Premier, you can ask the Premier himself what he will do. The law is very clear, and it is a country of the rule of law, and Premiers are expected to follow and respect the laws of the land.
Minister Boissonnault, appreciate the time. Thank you for this.
Thanks, Michael. All the best.